Before I go into the usual topics of today's episode, I'd like to send my dearest condolences to the Angels, who have once again messed up a golden generation of talent and have decided to go all in at the wrong time. In spite of this, they will now likely lose Shohei Ohtani to free agency after he is now out for the season with pitching. For pitching wise, he'll still hit, probably infrequently, as the Angels fans will pray across the land as they hope Ohtani returns to them in January. And while the inevitable is clear, I don't think he'll be an Angel for much longer. Why am I talking like this? Why am I doing this? I don't know. Welcome to another episode of the Robbie Basel Show. You already know who I am. I am Robbie Basel, your host, as per usual. And while I do like the comedy that the opening minute was, in all seriousness, the Angels are absolutely screwed. And they've done this themselves. Artie Moreno is an idiot. We've all known he's an idiot. I've gone on here saying he's been an idiot for, I don't know how many episodes, like the last 20 episodes, it feels like. Or over the last, I've done this for 31 episodes. This is episode 31 already. And actually, no, I'll go into this first. This will be the last video in August. There'll be no video next week. The next live, recap video will not be for, I want to say, for multiple weeks. Because looking ahead, before I absolutely destroy the Angels, the next video will be out the 4th of September. The 4th, the 8th, the 11th, and 15th. So September 18th will be the next live updates video. So I have 4 videos planned, all edited, and I'm really excited to bring it to you guys. Featuring a previews from, I've talked about this before, the Premier League, the Champions League, NFL, and then the international window up preview for Africa, Europe, and a little bit of what's to come in the future for CONCACAF and all that fun stuff. All that coming up in the next couple of weeks. No video next week because college is starting for me. I leave on Monday and I'm going to be very busy with possible work. You guys will all get the updates. If you follow the Robbie Basel Show on Instagram, make sure you go follow that. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, do all the necessary stuff. But back to your regularly scheduled content and me absolutely going off on the Angels. So the Angels are a mess. We've known they're a mess. They go out and decide to, let's go out and trade for pieces at the deadline this year and not absolutely leave the pitching to rot and die. Well, they made some moves. You go and get a guy like a Lucas Giolito. It's pretty good. They made some other moves as well. And in spite of this, the Angels have had a bigger collapse than... Actually, no, this is rather predictable. The Angels have lost 7 of 10. They have the same record equivalently as pretty much as the Yankees, which is bad, obviously. But, now you have Trout on the IL. You have Ohtani on shut down for pitching a torn UCL in his elbow. They're a mess. And the reason for this all is it's upper management that needs to change. It's kind of like decision. I'm not going to compare this to Oakland because there's a lot of bad owners in baseball. You can go after multiple of them. And I love when people go after guys like Artie Moreno because Artie Moreno is a freaking moron. We've known this for a long time. If you've looked over what he's done in free agency over the last last 7 years or so, the only good signing he's had is Ohtani. You can get failures like C.J. Wilson, Bartolo Colon. I believe he signed with the Angels. You have, there's a lot of names, David Freese, Chris Iannetta, and now Anthony Rendon. Not to mention it's like an abundant list. It's probably more failed signings than the New York Jets at this rate. So, I don't know, Artie Moreno feels like he's the GM, and the GM of the Angels like a puppet. That's what Billy Epler was like when he was with the Angels. A puppet in a way. Because Artie Moreno made every decision, basically. Which is not how you do this type of stuff. No wonder they haven't made the playoffs with Mike Trout. Angels could sit 11.5 out of the division. And we'll start with the recap of the AL West, because why not? And the Rangers have fallen back to earth. They've lost 8 of 10. And the Mariners, who I predicted to finish in second, are in second. So someone's actually living up to their potential. And I believe I predicted them to finish in second on the Into the Stands video. I don't know. It was from back in March. The Mariners in second. They've won 8 of 10. They've won a lot of good series. Their pitching's really emerged again. And they're a game out, along with the Astros, who have more wins, but I believe more losses. Yeah, they get a couple off days in the coming weeks as well. So it's a 3-team race to the end. People thought it would be 4. And the Angels said, not so fast. I'm going to fall and die like everything else in this damn team. Jesus. 7 of 10. Let's look at what they've lost to. Cincinnati and the 18, and including 18-4 loss to Tampa. Not much else needs to be said. The Central is something. The Twins are over 500, which leading the division, you should be over 500. And they are 6 games ahead of the Guardians, who lost 6 of 10 and have a 27-35 road record. That division just says it all. I think that just says more about the division itself. If you look at some of these road records, this is the only division in baseball where a team does not have a above 500 record on the road. Let's go into some of the records. 29-36, 27-34. The best road record in this division is the Tigers. They're 31-34. White Sox are 24-42, and the Royals don't even have 20 road wins, which is embarrassing. And if you look at the home records, one team is over 500 at home. It's the Twins. The Guardians are 500. The Tigers have 27 home wins. It's almost less than the White Sox. This is a disaster of a division. It's like the NFC South of football. But at the end of the day, the Twins, the best team on paper, got out and won the division. I risk it saying the White Sox are winning there in 4th behind the Tigers. I mean, at least someone from Into the Stands is going to get a divisional pick, right? But we go to the AL East. And a lot of people thought the Rays, they're in the bin. They're not going to go out and win a division. Look at all the injuries they have. They have no chance. They just lost Wander Franco as well. There's no way they keep this up. And Kevin Cash just smacks you in the face and says, here you go. Here's 7 of 10 wins. And they are 2 games behind the Orioles. Which, despite the Orioles having less, the only reason is the Orioles don't even have 50 losses yet. The Orioles are crazy. No one expected this. And guess what they just did? They went out and took 2 of 3 from the Blue Jays. And now they get an easy stint against the Rockies. They get an easy stint with the White Sox. They have a 9-game homestand. They took 2 of the first 3 in the homestand. Then they eventually head on the road to the Diamondbacks and the Angels. And then they head back on the road again to the Red Sox, and they go on from a 9-game home stretch to a 9-game road trip. These next couple of games will really determine where the Orioles are as a baseball team. You have the expanded rosters coming up. Who do they call up? I don't even know. And can this team keep it afloat, be a little bit over 500 in the last month of the season? That's an automatic playoff berth, pretty much. Because if you think about it, over 500 for 30 days, you say 17 wins. Piece that together with a possible win to a couple wins here and there. That's almost 100 wins for the Orioles, a team that I thought could maybe make the playoffs this year. A team that I had projected, I think, even 3rd or 4th in the divisions and 1st. Granted, the team that had winning the division didn't last, so not looking good for some of these teams. And speaking of the bad teams, the Yankees are 61-66, which is I wish the Mets would be right now. Because the Mets are 59-69, which nice. But in all seriousness, have the same record as the Nationals, who have flipped their entire season, have won 7 of 10, and are not promoting tanking. Nothing makes sense. The Mets now have the 4th worst record in the National League, only behind the dreaded Pirates, Cardinals, and Rockies, which the Cardinals, my God, they are a disaster. But in the NL East, the Braves continue their dominance over Philadelphia. The Marlins have taken themselves out of the divisional equation, almost out of the playoffs in general. The Marlins are not even in a playoff spot anymore. The Reds, I believe, are in a wild card spot. Yeah, they are. as we look at the overall MLB standings, courtesy of MLB.com, as we get to look at the wild card standings, this will load for me here. We have in the National League, the 3 wild card teams are Philadelphia, the Cubs, and Arizona. I thought the Reds were in it. They're not. They're half a game out. The Marlins are 2 games out. The Mets have totally taken themselves out of the equation. This thing cannot get any more weird. Or so we thought, because look who's still in the hunt for a playoff spot. And arguably had one of the weirder deadlines out of everybody. The Cubs, who stay put, and they're not regretting it at all. Why? Because they're only 3 games back of the Brewers. I mean, the Brewers have kept it together. The Cubs and the Reds are pretty much tied. The Cubs are ahead on with less losses, but they both have 67 wins. This division could really go down to the wire. I love where they're at. And, I mean, the Reds need to keep it going. I mean, regarding Cincinnati, they play the Diamondbacks tonight. They went on and lost to the Diamondbacks yesterday. More on them in a second. Then they get the Giants, and then they get the Cubs again. So those next upcoming games will really determine where the Reds will be going. Because if they go, let's say they go 500 on this road trip and then go out and sweep the Cubs, they're going to be around 77 wins-ish. No, more like, no, it's not 77, 74. Let's say 74 wins, which will put them in a much more comfortable spot than the Cubs. And in the National League West, the Dodgers have continued being the Dodgers and just miraculously saving people's seasons, like Joe Kelly and Lance Lynn, which doesn't make any sense, but I don't know what Dave Roberts is doing in L.A., so he's doing himself very well. They have a 12-game lead and have opened it up against the Diamondbacks, who somehow stayed in the picture. After losing 9 of 10 for like an eternity, the Diamondbacks have somehow pieced it together, kind of like how the Mets usually would be in August. They have played a Mets like August and have won 8 of their last 10. They are 67 and 61. I did not imagine they'd still be in this race. After their collapse in July, you thought they'd be out. And they said not so fast like Lee Corso would. And the Diamondbacks are now a half a game ahead of the Giants, who are also still in this. I don't know what's going on. The Padres are in 4th, which I think they might have to say bye-bye to Juan Soto soon. And then you have the Rockies, who are rotting Chris Bryant away. So baseball's weird. And before I continue with today's topics, I'd like to say an unfortunate deuces and retirement, and have a hopefully good retirement for Steven Strasburg. So Steven Strasburg, the pitcher from the Nationals, retired, I believe, yesterday or the day before. And he's had injuries that have plagued him over the last couple of years. He won the World Series, a big piece of the team that won the World Series for the Nationals, their first ever in franchise history. And now he has retired. I mean, it makes sense with the injuries, and I don't think he'd ever go back to the way he was. He was a great pitcher, always torched the Mets, and we all loved seeing him beat the Astros and win the World Series. So deuces to Steven Strasburg, and hello to soccer, our next topic today. So there's currently matches in progress with Chelsea and Luton Town when we're recording this. They're playing here on a Friday. Chelsea is currently running Luton Town off the field in terms of XG through the first 15 minutes. But the matches I really want to talk about, we'll open it up at the 7:30 a.m. game tomorrow. I won't be able to watch this. We have Bournemouth and Tottenham. Now, you probably think I'm crazy for bringing up Bournemouth again and Tottenham again. Well, think again. This game, Bournemouth last week, for those who don't know, played Liverpool and played Liverpool pretty well the first 15 minutes. Tottenham just emerged in the second half when they played United. I think this could be a trap game for Tottenham, especially going away to, I believe this game is at the Vitality, yeah. Another tough place to play. And we go into that in the Premier League prediction video on next Monday. So, who do I have winning this game? No one. 1-1 draw for this match. I like what Bournemouth has done. If you looked at the projected lineups for Bournemouth, you have Dominic Solanke, who had a pretty decent match. Semenyo, who had the goal. I think he's going to have a big impact. Billing and Rothwell in the midfield, I thought they were pretty good last week. Defense, need to figure it out. But all in all, I think Tottenham, with I mean, they looked decent against United in the attack in the first half. Second half, they really turned it up. I mean, I think the big impact in this game would be Madison if he plays. I don't know if he plays this one, but don't expect. You have to see the emergence of Son Heung-min. I mean, Son is that guy. He will hopefully try and go out and score over Tottenham. But this game was, I see a 1-1 draw. 10 a.m. game to watch out for. Arsenal. This is better than Forest and United. Arsenal, I do have winning this match in an unbiased way. Arsenal need to pick it up. Fulham, for those who don't know, have struggled in recent games and have won out and just fully embarrassed themselves by losing 3-0 at home to Brentford, which the Bees are pretty good, but that loss really stings because Fulham opened the season by beating Everton 1-0, which, okay, I mean, you won 1-0, but if you look at the table and the statistics, you got out XG'd by 1.5 to Everton? An Everton team that has opened the season with a -5 goal difference and can't finish on a brick wall? They couldn't hit the side of a barn at this point with their finishing. It's world class garbage, as some would say. I don't think so. I think they still have a lot of potential, Everton. I mean, they just don't have they have the manager, they just don't have the talent to really do anything. So, what do I expect in this one? Arsenal are probably going to find a way to struggle because that's what Arsenal has done in their first 2 matches. They've gone out and played 2 inferior opponents, and they've played down to both of them, especially Nottingham Forest. I'll talk about in a second. Arsenal win this game. It's going to be a 2-0 result, but don't expect this to look pretty at all. Even if it's at the Emirates, Arsenal are going to win 2-0. I like this result, despite Fulham playing better on the road than at home this season. Doesn't make sense. Other match to watch out for. United, Forest. I said I wasn't going to talk about it. I'm talking about it anyway. United. What was that from last week? I don't even know what I was watching at times. The defense is not bad. They just lost Luke Shaw to an injury, and the projected lineup has some changes. Sancho playing at top instead of on the wing. I kind of like that idea. Makes Rashford more creative, maybe gives him more options to go out and do things, I guess. No Garnacho in the lineup. He was replaced by, of course, Jadon Sancho. Eriksen slides into the midfield as another change as well. Remember, this is the projected lineup. Nottingham Forest have opened their season in... Forest, they're a weird one. They've opened the season playing solid to Arsenal. They out-XG'd Arsenal. You follow that by out-XG'ing Sheffield United by almost 1 and out-shooting them 16-7. This is a trap game, if I've ever seen a trap game. 1-1 draw. United won't be able to figure it out and go into deadline day thinking, what the heck do we do? Because they get Arsenal next. And a match that I can't wait to see unfold. Will I get to watch it? No idea. But Arsenal, United will be after United and Forest. Some teams just really need to go out and get a win on Arsenal and United. But the 12:30 match really intrigues me even more than the other two. We have Brighton as they host West Ham. Now, what do I like about this matchup so much? Why do I like this matchup? West Ham, in their previous match, went out and beat Chelsea 3-1. Always had a goal alert. Chelsea have scored, so they're up against Luton Town with 82% possession. Yeah, they're not losing. Brighton, West Ham, back to this. West Ham looked great. Mikel Antonio looked great. I love seeing Mikel Antonio play well. You had Lucas Paqueta, Saeed Benrahma, James Ward-Prowse in the midfield. They had Arl and goal. Emerson on the wing. Actually at the fullback position. He's the one who drew the penalty, and then there was the finish, and then they went up 3-1. The Seagulls, on the other hand, have gone off to a flyer start, courtesy of multiple big wins. 4-1, 4-1. Sounds like a tennis result. Because in their last match, I talked about it last time, but they went out and absolutely ran Wolves off the field. And courtesy of 3 goals in 10 minutes. I don't know how you do that. It's always amazing. Solly March had a great game. You saw players emerge like Encisa, Karu Mitoma, Gilmore. They had some other players emerge as well. Excuse me, and they need to win this game because you know who they have next? Newcastle. That one's gonna be really tough. Brian, I like winning this game 2-1. I think Brian go out and get it done again. I think early goals will happen though in this one. Should be a fun one regardless. Only match I'm talking about on Sunday is Newcastle-Liverpool, and you'll wonder why. I was hyping up Newcastle a lot, saying that they will prove themselves how legit they are playing against teams like City, Liverpool, Brighton, and then what do they get? Well, there's a couple of injuries. No Kanate, which is, I think, very crucial to the defense. Trent is also reportedly doubtful. And for Newcastle, the only, I think, big injury would be Joelinton. But not any other big names. Hall also questionable for this game. But, this is a really interesting one now because I think this is the chance for Newcastle. I really think this is their chance. If they want to go out and prove themselves, they need to go out and be a big-time club. Team with injuries, team that may be questioning themselves after beating Bournemouth despite getting a red card. But, oh, wait a minute. You thought it'd be so easy? No. Alexis McAllister's red card was overturned. He will likely play on Sunday. It doesn't make a difference. I got Newcastle with a rebound day for Alexander Isak. I'm a big fan of Isak. I have been for a while. And I think he's going to have a very big day on Sunday. 2-1 win for Newcastle. 2 goals from Isak. Tonali also gets a rebound as well. He gets at least 1 assist. Monday, there's no games. So those are my Premier League preview for the games this weekend. Let me know in the comments if I missed any games that you guys, or any teams that you guys wanted me to talk about more. To the NFL preseason next. From one pitch to another. And one of the things that I love is when a quarterback plays really bad yet taunts the other team. That's what we saw with Anthony Richardson. Went 6 of 17 for 78 yards. Yet on I believe it was a rushing touchdown for Evan Hull. I believe it's who it was for. I don't know. There was a touchdown, yeah. And he did the Eagles fly. Like, what are we doing? He looked like a clown for a minute. He did absolutely nothing. Bro completed 6 passes. I think his QB rating was in the bin. And the Colts won. The Eagles at quarterback saw Tanner McKee, who I like Tanner McKee going into the draft. He was my favorite pocket passer other than Aiden O'Connell. And when you have another quarterback, a Stanford-like quarterback who's a pocket type of guy, I mean, sorry about my hair, it's a mess, yeah. I think Tanner McKee will be solid. He'll probably be the backup for the third-string quarterback, for the Eagles. Of course, they have Marcus Mariota. I don't know what they do with him. He played 1 series. Trey Sermon got a touchdown, Ohio State stud. Indianapolis got it done against the Eagles. And then we saw another weird situation. And I was able to watch the first half of this game between the Steelers and the Falcons. What did I learn from this game? Falcons backups love to get penalized. It's like watching the Jets defense from 2021. They had so many penalties, it was unbelievable. Logan Woodside basically played the whole game. And 24 of 31 for 196. I bet he's going to be the third string now for the Falcons. Running game, invisible. Keelan Harris was the leading receiver, 6 receptions for 71 yards. Defensively, mess. They did have a couple of 2 sacks, right? 2 of them. And they got shut out by the Steelers, who were led by Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky. Kenny Pickett looked great on big day, though, in the running game. For Anthony McFarland, he played the first half, went 10 for 55 in a score. He looked really good, went with the ground and pound, lowered the shoulder a lot, was able to break a lot of tackles. And Anthony McFarland, I think, should be on the Steelers this season. Receiving-wise, we saw another great catch from George Pickens. We saw a nice catching run for Deontay Johnson. But the big story of this game will be the penalties for the Falcons. They have a rookie defensive coordinator, who was, I believe, an assistant with the Saints. And his defense got penalized a lot, especially in one of the last series before the half. I think they had like 3 defensive penalties. One of them was a bad hold away from the ball, pass interference on an uncatchable pass. Like, it looks like they're brain dead. I'll be honest with you, but it's nerves. You're playing for a roster spot. I get it, but you got to overcome those maybe a little bit. Preseason games to watch out for. Browns Chiefs. Why Dorian Thompson-Robinson is that dude, people. I love Dorian Thompson-Robinson, what he's been able to show me in the preseason. I have him having a big day against the Chiefs tomorrow, if he does play. And then we have probably the story of the night tomorrow. The preseason, the team debut for Aaron Rodgers. You like me smiling? Because Aaron Rodgers is freaking taking the field. Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets face off against Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. The first of 2 meetings between these two teams this season. Because they do face off later in the regular season. In the preseason finale, what do I expect? I expect Aaron Rodgers to probably play like 2 series max. Maybe even a quarter, who knows. And then Zach Wilson probably to come play. Who knows? Maybe they play Aaron Rodgers a half and then they play Zach Wilson. I don't know. There's infinite possibilities. But then you question yourself, Robbie, why are you talking about the Giants a lot? There has to be a catch here. Indeed, there was. Enter Isaiah Simmons, who was traded from the Cardinals to the Giants for a 7th round pick. This trade makes sense and no sense at the same time. Giants need help on defense. They go out and get their guy in Isaiah Simmons for cheap. What didn't make sense was the price tag for him. A 7th round pick for Isaiah Simmons? Bro, are the Cardinals okay? Bro, they're like Arnie Moreno, but the football version. What were they thinking? I think they could have gotten like a 4th at least for him. He's really good. One of the most talented defenders they have on their whole team. What are they doing? I don't know. They also traded an offensive tackle to the Texans. So they're getting late round picks. I don't know why. But they went out and got some late round picks. Good for them. But back to the trades, there was that news with Isaiah Simmons. Late in the day, all hell is being let loose. But then a couple days before, you saw Jonathan Taylor be rumored to be traded with the Colts. His deadline is Tuesday, because Tuesday is the day of roster cuts. Well, my first day of class is roster cut day, which sucks, because I love that day, because I get to see who the Jets could possibly pick up off of the cuts. Which usually there's some couple pieces that I like. But if Jonathan Taylor doesn't find a trade soon, then he might be rotting away on the Colts for another season. I don't think they want that to happen. But, well, at least the football fan in me doesn't. I don't think anyone does. You want to see him play for a contender. You want to see him in the playoffs. You have to imagine teams like Buffalo, Miami, are on the phone spamming the heck out of the Indianapolis Colts front office. You can imagine some other teams as well will be going down their throats. Chicago, maybe. You want to make it even more confusing? How about you go to a team that has an unproven running back in Carolina? Maybe they want to go out and do something. There's multiple, maybe even make it even weirder and see like a Saints call for him. Because the uncertainty of Alvin Kamara. Why won't this happen? You're probably asking, Robbie, why hasn't this happened yet? Simple reason. The demands, the desires for what the Colts want for Jonathan Taylor will not make a trade happen. It's very simple. If Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in football, arguably, doesn't get traded for a first-round pick, you really think Jonathan Taylor will get traded for a first-round pick after the season he had last year? No way! If he had his fantasy number 1 overall pick type of year, then I would say absolutely give the first-round pick. If the running back market wasn't the way it is, I'd say absolutely give him first-round pick and maybe take like a bag of chips with you, like a 5th-round pick. But you can't say that anymore for the running back market depleting. to the constant turnover, to the injuries that they've gotten lately, I wouldn't trade a first-round pick for a running back. I'd trade him for a second, maybe even a third. The Colts are screwing themselves out of their best player that they've had in a while. Arguably since Andrew Luck on the offensive side of the ball. It ain't Michael Pittman. No. Jonathan Taylor is their best offensive player since Andrew Luck. Unless I'm missing somebody. And I'm not counting Quentin Nelson on the offensive line. This is concerning. They need to figure it out. Just like the 49ers do. They announced that Sam Darnold will be the backup quarterback on the 49ers this season, signaling the end of Trey Lance in San Francisco. What teams could possibly trade for him? One of them, for me, is the aforementioned Atlanta Falcons. That division's wide open, free for anyone to come out and take. Carolina thinks they can win it. New Orleans thinks they can win it. And they have quarterbacks like Bryce Young, unproven, the rookie. Derek Carr, established. He's made the playoffs with Vegas. And you have Tampa Bay, who maybe have an outside chance led by the likes of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. But what about Atlanta? They have Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke. Why not go out and get yourselves the big risk reward for probably not that much in Trey Lance? Imagine the scenes. This could open the division door even wider. A 500 record may not win the division this year. We have Tank Division version 2. With the second place guy, with Trey Lance possibly, who has always been second put after the emergence of Brock Purdy. The established veteran Derek Carr. The rebound of Baker Mayfield. And the rookie of Bryce Young. Imagine the scenes. There's so many other teams, I couldn't even list them all where Trey Lance can go. But my number one, and the place where I really wish for him to go, is Atlanta. They need to get it done. Especially with how unproven Ridder is, I think he needs more time to develop. If it's either going to be Ridder or Trey Lance for me, I wouldn't start Heineke. Not where they want to go. Not with their mobile offense. No way. We go from the gridiron to the racetrack. And Formula One is next. Now, today, we received news that Daniel Ricciardo will not race in the Netherlands this week at Zandvoort due to an injury that he picked up during FP2 after he crashed his car on this big wide turn, and he crashed his car and hurt his hand. And this weekend, you'll see the debut of a guy who I thought was going to take the seat in the first place, an F2 driver, Liam Lawson. The youngster will take the AlphaTauri spot and will be, you're going to love this, the fourth AlphaTauri driver this season. If you needed any other time to prove yourself, this is like what happened last year when Nick DeVries went out and drove for Albon because he was sick. And DeVries got points. It was unheard of from Williams. At the time, at least. But, now we have Liam Lawson, the Red Bull Academy driver, who will be coming in next. I can't wait to see what he can do. I'm very intrigued to see how he looks tomorrow in FP3, along with qualifying tomorrow. But what do I expect to happen in this race? I expect to see very positive results. I want to talk about Red Bull, but I don't think it's necessary. McLaren looked good today. One of their drivers did. The other one crashed with Daniel in Oscar Piastri. But Noah Carr looked really good today. The Williams of Alex Albon looked really good today. Could that be something to watch out for this weekend? Because if you look at the results from FP2 and who was moving really quick today, the Williamses were in P3 and P12. You saw the Haas drivers who apparently re-signed, which doesn't make any sense because none of them are doing anything. They're in P17 and P18. Ferrari, not a good day for them. Even though Carlos Sainz only drove one practice session today due to one of their third driver was in Sainz's seat today. But other notable teams to do bad, George Russell, P14. LH, Lewis Hamilton was in 4th in comparison. But Yuki Tsunoda in 5th, which doesn't make any sense. I don't think he'll have that race pace whatsoever. But we had in FP2, it was Lando. In FP1, it was Verstappen. Could we see Lando versus Verstappen again? Don't think so. I don't know if this track really suits McLaren, but I think this track is going to really suit Williams with the straights. I think they're going to have a solid weekend. They're a team to watch out for me. What are my predictions for the race? Well, in qualifying and in the race, Max will win. I hate it. I mean, it makes sense, though, for him to break the record from Vettel at his home race with the Dutch anthem playing. It would make a lot of sense. But for Verstappen, I think he's going to have a big week. Will we see Albon on the podium? I don't think so. Hamilton gets second. Followed by, I think, will be Fernando Alonso with Lando in 4th. With Lando and Piastri 4th and 5th. Perez 6th. Because Perez went out and got 7th. I do think Perez can get as high as 4th. I don't know if will he get on the podium? I mean, it's possible. But I really like the way that Hamilton drove in FP2. In FP1, it was Alonso and Hamilton getting 2nd and 3rd. If Aston needs any week to rebound, it's the first week out of the summer. There you go. That race will be fun. Just like the final tennis major of this season. The U.S. Open. And I'm going to give you some names to watch out for. Give you, in the men's side, 2 and 2. Women's side, I don't know as much about, so I'll go with 2 and 1. Men's side, my high favorites will be in the top 15. I'll give you 2 top 15 players to watch out for, and then 2 non-top 15 players to watch out for. My first one's Casper Ruud. I picked him last time, and it feels redundant. But the Norwegian lost in the final last time here to Alcaraz. I think he goes all the way and gets it done. His forehand looked miraculous. Backhand, his movement, he looks great. Casper Ruud is my big-time favorite to watch out for at the U.S. Open. Number 5 seed. First seeded player he would face would be Sebastian Korda, who looked really bad in recent weeks. Sorry about that. So, I like Ruud to at least win the first 3 matches at minimum. But upsets can happen anywhere. With Arthur Ashe playing under the lights, with those awesome looking intros, Casper Ruud I think will be perfect in this situation. My next player to watch out for. He's usually very good on the hard courts. I am going with Tommy Paul. Now, Tommy Paul is probably a player you've never heard of before. And fair enough. Tommy Paul, the 26-year-old, and he unfortunately lost to Alcaraz in the Western and Southern Open a couple days, about almost a week ago now, on August 17th. He lost 6-7, 7-6, 3-6. So that really the score would be 7-6, 6-7, 6-3 to Alcaraz. Now, the first 2 sets, he gave Alcaraz a phenomenal fight. And Tommy Paul has been able to prove himself against some of the best players in the world. And America needs to step up this week. It's going to be him or Tiafoe. And I went out and picked Tommy Paul. Though, I believe it's possible that those two can face each other. If you look at the bracket, just going to find the match again. This thing No, they actually wouldn't play each other till I believe the third round at earliest. I believe. Will we see that matchup between Tommy Paul and Tiafoe? All-American boys? That would be very fun. To the intriguing players. And, I love a good upset. I don't know about you guys, but upsets are a lot of fun. And why not pick a guy to go decently far? Then, starting off your tournament being a seeded player, a player who's underperformed in majors as of late, in Aguru Aliasime. I'm going with an American, Mackenzie McDonald. You're probably asking, Robbie, who the heck is this guy? He may have looked bad at the Western and Southern Open, but Mackenzie McDonald has actually shown up and played well in multiple tournaments. I mean, I believe he did at least. Wimbledon. He, in the men's singles, took the opening set and lost in 4 sets to Bublik, who I think is better than Aguru Aliasime. Now, Mackenzie McDonald has played well, I believe, in U.S. Opens before. He won the opening set and dropped the next 3 as well. But I think he's going to have a solid tournament. You have to pick an American for this. Let's see how he did in Australia. He went out and lost in the 3rd round. Oh, yeah, he beat Nadal on the hard courts. This guy's going to go crazy. He's gone out and lost to Nishioka after beating Nadal. Listen, why do I like him so much? Bro has probably one of the easiest draws of all time after the first round. Let's look at it. So, if you beat Aguru Aliasime, which you should, you probably get the Ghanaian and Daleen, and then Cerundolo, who's really inconsistent on the hard courts. Mackenzie McDonald's definitely going to be a name to watch out for at the U.S. Open this week. For the top half, who do I like? There's some names. Good amount of options. But Grigor Dimitrov is calling my name. He's the ranked player outside of the top 15 to watch out for. For me, it'll be Grigor Dimitrov. He's been good and he's consistent in majors. He's always gets out of a first round for you. Listen, his hardest test in the first couple of rounds, if I find the right part of the bracket that he would be in, 4, 6. So his hardest matchup would be Zverev, who I would expect him to beat Zverev. Grigor Dimitrov to make at least the round of 16 is my underrated pick on the men's side. So my men's picks, to recap, we have Casper Ruud, and we have Tommy Paul. And the underrated picks, Mackenzie McDonald and Grigor Dimitrov. To the women's side of things. And one, I love Iga Swiatek. But, I'm going to go with the 7 and 8. One of them is going to win, I think. And it's Caroline Garcia of France and Maria Sakkari of Greece. Now you can make an argument for me to say Ons Jabeur again, but I want to be original and not pick Ons Jabeur again, because that's desperation, and I'm not like that, even though I did pick Casper Ruud again. Casper Ruud made it to the final last time. Why not go to a player who has a chance, who really give themselves a chance to go out here and win, and be a little bit different? Rybakina, also a good pick. There's a lot of good women's picks. But I'm going to go with the 2 seeds that are next to each other. I can find them again. And it's Sakkari and Garcia. Sakkari has proven herself on the WTA Tour, as is Garcia. They're both proven players. Both have played decent in Grand Slams, at least. I think they both have the experience and the pedigree to go out and possibly win a U.S. Open. I think they're both going to go decently far. Sleeper names. Don't know many. Just got to look through this again. But, there's a couple calling them a name here. I'm going to go with a ranked player, I think. In Svitolina. Actually, we'll go 2 ranked players. We're going to go with Madison Keys, the American, and Svitolina of Ukraine. Svitolina, I like her draw. Her hardest player, I think she beat Jess Pegula, which she would get the big American, the backing of the Americans. But you got to look at this draw and say to yourself, well, Madison Keys is a decently easy draw. Her hardest player would be Samsonova, and I think she would lose to Madison Keys. And then Svitolina, who I back against a lot of players, and she's made it recently to a Grand Slam semifinal, you could back Svitolina out of that as well. Both players, Madison Keys has made a U.S. Open final, losing to Sloane Stephens. Svitolina recently made a Grand Slam semifinal. So my women's players to watch out for, we will have, just to restate, we have Caroline Garcia and Maria Sakkari. And then the sleeper picks are Madison Keys. Remember, the sleepers are out of the top 15 in the world. Are Madison Keys and Vila Svitolina. That's how you say it, right? Svitolina. Close enough. But that will be all for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. We had so much to go over. From baseball to tennis to football to soccer. A lot was broken down today. Oh, and F1 as well. I can't forget about that. But like I said earlier, this will be the last episode until next Monday. So no episode next week. And you will see me breaking down more live sports news in 3 weeks. Next 4 episodes, all edited videos. I bet you guys cannot wait to watch that one. Watch those episodes. Remember, like and subscribe. I'm Robbie Basel. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, guys.